Good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight for KREM 2 News 10 at 10, where we give you more news in less time. I'm Cody Proctor. Well, the weekend's here, and with it comes another chance for wintry weather. Meteorologist Michelle Boss breaks it down what's in store for us for Saturday and Sunday. Not the start to meteorological spring I wanted, Michelle.
Not really. We got the first signs of spring today with some graupel, though, and as it happened during the afternoon and temperatures initially were in the 40s, most of that melted right away as it fell, though. We are looking at cooler temperatures for this weekend and a little steadier light snow. We could see some light accumulations here tomorrow morning. Right now, all is quiet, though, on satellite and radar. With the clearer skies, we are going to see temperatures fall into the 20s, so we'll be well below freezing. And looking at the next disturbance coming out of the southwest, which is going to bring our next round of snow. We do have winter weather advisories for the areas shaded in purple for those areas that could see some slightly higher amounts, 1 to 4 inches in the valley locations of northeastern Washington and North Idaho, and 4 to 8 inches in the mountains. But I think in the Spokane and Coeur d'Alene area, you may actually see up to 2 inches of snow through the day tomorrow. Right now, temperatures above freezing, but expecting it to drop into the 20s overnight. The snow moves in early tomorrow morning, and we'll see steady light snow in the morning, snow showers for the afternoon, a slight chance of snow on Sunday. Highs both days in the upper 30s.
Well, in other top stories right now, a man accused of sexually assaulting a 15-year-old girl at Martin Hall Juvenile Corrections Facility in Medical Lake made his first appearance in court today. 40-year-old Antoine Jones is accused of raping the teen while transporting her back to the facility in late January. Employees at Martin Hall received an anonymous email which triggered an internal investigation leading to his termination on February 7th. The next day, the Spokane County detectives began their investigation. During today's appearance, a sexual assault advocate made a statement on the victim's mother's behalf.
Mr. Jones took advantage of his position and assaulted my daughter. She was in a position where she couldn't flee or cry for help. This has affected her self-esteem and her sense of safety. These children who are in juvenile custody are already struggling with so much and then are taken advantage of. Mr. Jones needs to be kept in custody. Jones
is now charged with child rape and custodial sexual misconduct. His bond set at $150,000. A developing story out of Shoshone County tonight after a city worker in Smelterville discovered a human fetus in a storm drain. Shoshone County Sheriff deputies say the fetus was actually found last Saturday, but they didn't go public with the information until today. The medical examiner says the fetus was 4 months along in the growing process. The sheriff's office says it's investigating how the fetus entered the drain.
We're starting with what we have, and that's that there's a 4-month fetus in the sewage system that's now been removed, obviously. A medical examiner is checking it out and finishing their report as well. So then we'll go from there.
The sheriff's office says it can't speculate on whether or not this incident was intentional, but they're not investigating this as a crime. Deputies ask anyone with info to contact the sheriff's office. New tonight, lawmakers in Olympia took a step today to allow more police chases. That's just one of 3 voter initiatives that could be enacted by legislators come Monday. Drew Mickelson with our Seattle sister station gives us a look at the Republican-backed initiatives that appeared to have support in the democratically controlled state capitol.
3 of the initiatives sent to the legislature passed out of their respective committees this morning. On the police pursuit one, that meant that some Democrats who originally voted to implement these restrictions on chases had to vote to repeal that law. Earlier this week, the hearing rooms were packed with members of the public as well as lobbyists and law enforcement. Folks lined up to testify on these 3 initiatives. One would ban income taxes in state and local governments, even though those have been deemed unconstitutional before. Another measure would guarantee rights for parents to access their child's educational records, an issue that also doesn't change many existing laws. But the police chase one is the most controversial. In 2021, the state restricted chases to only crimes involving suspected drunk drivers, escaped subjects, and those involved in violent or sex crimes. Under this voter-backed initiative, petitions signed by more than 400,000 voters, police could chase someone for any crime. Police blame the current law for an increase in car thefts and break-ins, but those who sponsored the original law say more chases will only result in more deaths and, more likely, people of color. Now that these have all passed out of committee, they could be taken up and debated and voted off the floor of the House and Senate next week in the final days of this legislative session. If they are passed by the end of the session on Thursday, they will become state law. In Olympia, Drew Mickelson, King 5 News.
And of course, we'll continue to bring you continuing coverage out of the state capitol. In the meantime, let's go now to Nightbeat for a quick look at the day's top stories. U.S. Marshals still looking tonight for a Spokane man considered to be armed and dangerous. They're now raising the reward to $5,000 for any information leading to the arrest of this man. David Cato is suspected of several home burglaries. He's wanted on 2 felony warrants for burglaries and possession of a stolen vehicle. And a downtown business owner smashed over the head with a flower pot. Now Spokane police need help identifying the suspect taking in this wild video. Spokane PD says a group of young men began acting out in front of a downtown nail salon last Saturday. The video shows the suspect harassing the owner, and you can see the suspect heads to the front of the store, knocking over a flower pot. And as you saw right there, the owner approached the teenage boy. He picked up the pot and threw it at his head. Now, if you have any information about who this is, you're asked to contact police at the number on your screen. And the city of Spokane is moving forward with its plan to ramp down operations for emergency warming shelters. Many of those changes went into effect this morning, and here's what we know. According to city officials, the Cannon Street Warming Center closed this morning. Also starting today, the track shelters ramping down the number of beds they have, going from 350 to 250 beds. The city plans to extend its contract with Jules Helping Hands to continue shelter services at area churches. The Community Housing and Human Services Department plans to work with nonprofits and service providers to figure out what's needed. And that was your Night Beat. To learn more about any of these stories, just head on over to our website, KREM.com. Well, taking a look now at headlines across the nation. Firefighters in Texas desperately working at this hour to contain massive wildfires. Those fires killed at least 2 people. The Smokehouse Creek fire is now the largest in Texas history. So far, it's burned more than 1 million acres since Monday. With hundreds displaced from their homes, Texas Governor Greg Abbott gave an update this afternoon.
The largest fire in the history of the state of Texas cut a path so large that it exceeds the size of some states in our country. There are about 400 to 500 structures that have been destroyed.
Right now, the fire is now about 15% contained. More help from state and federal fire teams are expected over the coming days. Well, the most powerful Pacific storm of the season is bearing down on Northern California and Nevada. Rare blizzard warnings in effect through Sunday for a 300-mile stretch from north of Lake Tahoe to south of Yosemite National Park, where up to 12 feet of snow is expected. Snow is falling around 5 inches an hour in some places. Meanwhile, some mountaintops recorded wind gusts of around 135 miles per hour.
We're looking at 2, potentially 3 days of these very high wind speeds that are going to be blowing the snow around and making conditions outside very dangerous.
Residents are being urged to hunker down until that storm passes. Forecasters say blizzard-like conditions won't taper off until Sunday, providing a winter wonderland for those loving the snow.